watching this show for the first time, coming straight from watching and deep diving the original show and then coming into this, first reaction is the screen's bigger.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like immediately.
Yeah, we
I'm
got
like,
to do widescreen. That was exciting.
The first thing I'm like, oh,
Took
here we
advantage
go.
of
HD. It was HD.
I watched
Yeah.
the whole series of a square screen,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I feel like I'm in the future, and then I start feeling like, oh, these aren't kids. Like
Yeah, they're a little
everyone's older.
Yeah.
It's more mature. Because again, I love the original gang, but they're young, and there is that great youthfulness with them. When you're looking at these characters now, it just feels a more mature, which is more interesting. There's more things going on, and then the style. How did you guys choose the style of what's going? Not that there was a full-on shift, but there was something feels, I don't know, the whole style of Republic City and the it's cool.
It's
the fashion,
so rich and
it's
textured,
rich.
and the mechanics.
I can't put my finger on it. What is what was behind all that?
I mean, even just aging them up was a choice. Like,
Yeah, we wanted to differentiate it from the younger thing. So we were thinking of it as, kind of like a YA series versus a middle grade series or something. So, thematically it's a little darker, a little more intense sometimes. And yeah, it's more like teenager angst than kid angst, which
is different.
I don't know any, parent or grown up who's like, man, teenagers make great choices all the time. So
Of course.
Right.
Your brain's still developing. You're still, and especially for Korra, who's, a little impatient and just wants to get out there and do her thing. Like, yeah, you inevitably make some maybe not so wise choices, but that's kind of what the whole arc of the series is about. Is her coming into that wisdom and spiritual growth.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even though within the show it's 70 years later, in real life it was 4 or 5 years later. So we were kind of aging up with the audience that had maybe grown up with the show. And again, it gave us another opportunity to have some different ingredients, some different kind of it's like if you're going back into do another album or something, it's like bringing in some different instruments. It just automatically gives you some different textures and kind of vibes. And then for the style, I mean, that was going back to how making the Avatar art book really influenced making Korra. There were things that I was proud of in the original art direction, but there was all this stuff I was just like, we didn't really have a background painting style. There was a lot of over reliance on kind of like overlaying photo textures over stuff, and when that got we might have like a decent or nice looking key, but when that got translated to like 300 backgrounds in an episode, it not like a stylistic voice didn't carry over. So that was like one of the number one things. I was like, we need a background painting style. So we and I, even though I did oil painting in college, like I was not adept at doing digital oil painting at that time. I'm a little better now, but so the goal was just, let's just find someone who has an awesome style and then just build the show style around their art. And we found Fred Stewart. It was just this young, quiet, amazingly talented artist who was pretty much just fresh out of school.
Wow.
And we're just like, Fred, I mean, we kind of tweaked the style to meet the needs of the show, but it was more or less just building this aesthetic around his. And then like with Joaquin,
you could feel it. It's like one of those immersive things that you can't really put your finger on, but I'm watching, I'm like, I definitely feel more immersed in this world.
I got to tell a story about the widescreen and the HD thing.
Hit it.
So we weren't supposed to do that. We had wanted to do that. We tried to do it on the series finale on Avatar.
Yeah.
We wanted to like, come on, we were like, we can't keep doing this standard def stuff. And Nickelodeon, just with their whole like international like kind of distribution to all these other partners, they were like, no, it's gotta. But when we came back to do Korra, Mark Taylor, Legend, just was like, just do it. And he was being told not to do it.
Wow.
And he just let us do it. And then
by the time the show came out, everyone was like, are you doing that show in HD? Because we, like everything was HD by that point.
Right.
They had this panicked mandate. Like, guys, we have to we have to up-res everything. And we were like, we're already doing it.
That's
so this
so
thing
great.
that we were being told explicitly not to do.
Yeah.
So that was some brilliant studio management by Mark. So
That is
thanks, Mark.
Very cool. No kidding.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I was going to say too is that when you talk about that immersion, I mean, there are shots where you feel like you're inside of something and there's more 3D happening, right? I mean, there's more just, do you have different technology,
what's
computer
going
stuff,
on?
like
Well,
where you're really seeing something from all these different...
Interestingly enough, I just had lunch yesterday with Michael Arias.
Okay, cool.
So Michael Arias he's from LA, but he's lived in Japan for, I don't know, 30 years now or something. And he's had this really interesting career starting in visual effects, but he's like one of the first or only Americans to ever direct a Japanese animated feature.
Wow.
Really?
He directed Tekken Concrete, which is really legendary.
Really?
And that film, to this day, you watch it, it's just mind blowing, and it's like these color pencil kind of backgrounds, but it's sort of 3D, and it's like handmade, but you're moving through it with these 2D characters. There've been a lot of really great things that play with that kind of technique, but Michael, being a kind of visual effects person, but also this really amazing artist, like he and his crew just really pushed it, and it's still like one of the best examples of that. So we had met him out here at like a dinner, and then we went to him in Japan to like help us like figure out how to do that for TV. So the whole opening of the first episode where you're like flying in, that was all like him giving us advice about how to use After Effects and stuff. So yeah, we one of the big changes other than the background style was to have an in-house compositor. So we have Matt Gabois, and that just, we called him the wizard. I mean, just having one compositor just like leveled up the show. And so we would try to have shots in every episode that had a little, that parallax, you know, kind of 2.5D.
Which you see, I mean, I think
That's
too
great.
with the Probending, that plays so nicely in this idea of Probending. And again, you know, lots of foreshadow reports here, but just the whole idea that not only is bending an issue with, you know, people who are breaking the law or people who are taking advantage of other people, but also is like, well, why wouldn't we also have this sport? I mean, that is one of the things that I think really people got sucked in so quickly by the idea of Probending. I remember getting that feedback so early on from fans of the original series who were just like they needed to talk about it. You know, they were just like, the Probending, what? Of course, yes. Like the thing we didn't know we needed. You know, people really respond to that. So what was that process like, if you can talk a little bit about that?
I mean, that was all from Bryan's MMA days.
Yeah.
He's like, we need more sports in this show. And I was like, what are we going to do with sports? I don't know what to do with sports. But yeah, once we had the like benders versus non-benders conflict, it thematically started to make more sense to me. We're like, oh yeah, if you have the sport where like everyone's like cheering benders and they're kind of like celebrities. And then, one of our, you know, we meet Mako and Bolin and they're in this world, and Korra wants to be in this world because that totally makes sense for her character, that she would see this sport and be like, I want to do that. That sounds awesome.
This place is even more amazing than I imagined.
Name's Bolin, by the way.
Korra.
But Bryan was the mastermind of the like how the rules worked and how the gameplay happens and all that stuff.
But the original, the impetus for the idea came from something we developed together. We were in between Avatar and Korra. We were like trying one of our many forays into like trying to get a big MMOG like Avatar video game off the ground, and it was set in like an ancient time, but like a time of peace. And we thought, it'd be, you know, it's the kind of martial arts thing. Like martial arts isn't always about like war. It's like competition or
Focus,
you know,
skill.
self-discipline
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just like kind of elevating the art. And testing your art against someone, and that can be in a respectful, sporting manner. So we thought, in that, we were like, it'd be really neat if there was just in this time of peace, like benders of all the nations got together and just like fought each other for the art of it. And so we had that idea, and we were like, man, that's like a really fun thing to not have to like show firebending always be like, I'm trying to invade your country.
Everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked.
So it's more of the, you know, the martial arts vibe. And when we I think it was the next year we were working on Korra. We were like, hey, that idea. Yeah. What if we did a modern version of it? We didn't have airbenders, but
not yet.
And we did it as a team sport, and yeah, I ran with it. But it was an idea Mike and I had together.
It's great. It makes so much sense. I mean, in the real world, our professional athletes are basically superheroes.
Yeah,
right.
The football players and the basketball players, and then you're like, and the airbenders are superheroes. So why wouldn't they be the athletes of that world?
Yeah, and if you look at the history of like wrestling now, it's a big deal now and it's a big industry, but like it was huge at the turn of the century and in the 20s and stuff, like massive people listening to stuff on the radio. So I wanted to capture that old school like wrestling or boxing vibe. And so like Joaquim and his early designs of the Probending was like the kind of leatherheads, like the early football and stuff. So yeah, it's just like all part of that. And again, it's a nice foil if everyone, including non-benders, are sort of like hero worshiping these bending athletes, to have someone come in and be like, and to use that as like, sorry, the spoiler, but to use the Probending thing as to showcase the resistance against that.
And it gives me feels of Blind Bandit.
Your champion, the Blind Bandit!
Gives me connections and feels of that.
And I just want to add something, and this is going to be, and it will be the only time I say this entire season, maybe. But for those of us who look at everything through a Tron lens.
Oh yeah,
arena.
We're starting with Tron already.
I'm just getting it out of the way. I'm getting it out of the way. The disc, and also like the scoop of light. The scoop of I forget what it's called.
It's the Miami Vice.
When they're going back
Miami
and forth.
Vice. This is the thing.
When they go back and forth with the scoops, you know what I'm talking about? And
the highlight.
I love the blue and the orange.
The Tiger-Dillo score with a walloping 1-2 combo. Can their teammate hold on to their Zone 1 territory? Guess not. Marco's over the line. The Tiger-Dillos get the green light and advance into ferret territory.
Come on, ferrets!
Like what you saw? Well, that was just the tip of the iceberg.
Full episodes of Avatar Braving the Elements are available right here on the Avatar Legends YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts.
And catch more Avatar, The Last Airbender, and The Legend of Korra on Paramount+.
My era's not over yet!